Our series features a girl named Maya who is starting her first year at high school. She tries to escape from her neighbor, John, who feels like a brother to her since they grew up together. It's his first day at her school, as he is older and a top student known in the school. Because of this, she doesn't want anyone to know she's close to him. She jumps from rooftops, eventually making her way to the market where she hides, but he spots her. She heads toward the wall to jump and is thrilled to find a brick to lean on. Unfortunately, a group of kids comes along and takes it. While jumping, she falls, but John catches her and asks why she's hiding from him. She tells him she doesn't want the students to call her John's sister like they did in her old school, and he agrees to leave her be. As he walks away to catch the bus, he briefly sees his father leaving his shop but doesn't greet him. Meanwhile, Maya notices the kids who took her brick. She grabs one from them and runs quickly to the bus, feeling satisfied with her revenge. John is on the bus, and he tells her to hide the brick she has. She quickly puts it in her bag and takes out her camera to take a picture of him before dozing off. He takes the camera and snaps a picture of her sleeping on her back. When she arrives in her classroom, she meets a boy who teases her about the picture, laughing and saying she looks cute asleep. She tries to hide the photo, annoyed, but accidentally sticks it to her classmate's notebook, who glares at her. Maya apologizes, and when she tries to remove the photo, she rips the page. She keeps apologizing, telling the girl named May to stay away. Later that night, she encounters May again and tries to lighten the mood, but May remains cold. Meanwhile, John's father gets into an argument with some young men over unpaid money, forcing them to pay. Jian's father sees him and gives him some cash, saying he won't be around for 2 days. After leaving, they see the young men looking for trouble, and soon they start attacking Jian. They discover he has a prosthetic leg and take the money his father gave him. Maya arrives with a stick trying to defend him. The man takes advantage of her help to get John off the ground and tries to hit her, but Jian steps in front and takes the hit instead. Maya starts crying, and Jian gathers his courage, defending both of them. A boy on a bike approaches and tells the attackers to leave them alone, causing them to flee when they realize someone saw them. Maya sits beside John, still crying, and hugs him. He comforts her and takes her home to change and wash her clothes. We flash back to when John was younger. We see his father running in a hospital after learning his son was hit by a car. He confronts the man responsible and gets angry, knowing that his son will need a prosthetic leg. The nurse asks him to sign documents for the procedure, and he furiously tells the man that he can't treat his son this way and promises to take care of him. The next day, they bring a girl to meet John, and we find out it's Maya. The man who hit John with his car is her father. John doesn't remember who hit him, so he treats Maya's father normally. Returning to the present, John wakes up with a new prosthetic leg and thanks Maya's father for it. At school, rumors spread that Maya is John's sister, with a boy named Ron making up stories about them. Maya confronts him angrily. When she returns to her class, she finds girls wanting to get to know John and giving her gifts. May defends her, pushing the girls away. When elections come to choose a class leader, Maya votes for herself and actually wins. They go to gym class together, getting to know each other and agreeing to be friends. Later, in their class, Maya finds a notebook with strange names and numbers in it. She asks May, who tells her they belong to boys from the school. She thinks one of them would be suitable for her. The next day, she overhears 2 students mocking John and can't tolerate anyone speaking about him. When she tries to confront them, May stops her, telling her they'll take care of it in a better way. They send love notes and set up a scare in the science room, pretending it's haunted. When they find out it's Maya, scared, she tells them to stop talking about Jian. They agree and run off. After school, she goes to the library with Jian to study. She asks about a collection of stories she likes, only to find out that a person named Mr. Crazy has taken all of them. Upset, they finish studying and go to her house to eat with their friends. Then they go out to enjoy the chicken they're raising. The next day, Jian participates in a competition and finds a charm in his bag for protection, which belongs to Maya. When she arrives at school, a new student named Lian, the principal's son, comes in. He looks at Maya and realizes he knows her. He sees her reading a comic magazine and discovers they both enjoy the same stories. He asks if she remembers him, and she tries to think back, realizing he was there when the boys were beating John. She asks about his long hair, and he explains that his mother made him cut it for school. He takes a pen from May and fills out a registration form for the basketball team. Maya asks if he can play, and he confidently says he'll change the history of basketball when he joins the team. He goes to the tryouts with Ran, who turns out to be his friend. After a while, the results come out, and unfortunately, he is not accepted onto the team, which makes him very upset. During John's competition, a student enters the classroom named B, who is the smartest student at school, like Jian. Everyone talks about their intelligence. Maya heads home and is stopped by her mother, who is on the phone. When she finishes, she scolds Maya for a poor test result. She finds her with her hands behind her back, so she takes away the stories Maya loves and punishes her, forbidding her from watching TV or reading as long as her grades are bad. Maya goes to her room and calls Jian, complaining about what happened and asking him to come back and stand up to her mother. He tells her he has 3 more days before he returns. He then asks if she solved the questions he sent her, and she says the number he gave her is out of service. He laughs at her childishness. The next day at school, the principal gathers the students and notices one boy wearing a cap, covering his face. He asks him to remove it, and when he does, it turns out he dyed his hair red to rebel against his father, the principal. The principal yells at him, saying he can't come to school until he dyes his hair back. After school, Maya returns her books, looking upset, and Leon sees her. He sits her down and asks what's bothering her. When she explains, he shows her his library membership card and invites her to take any books she wants anytime. Maya is thrilled and notices his name, Mr. Crazy. She realizes he has been borrowing all the series that come out, and later they head to the basketball court to play together. The next day, she calls Jian to tell him about her new friend, and it's clear Jian is listening, feeling upset. After 3 days, he returns to school and sees her with Leon, who introduces them. They all go to lunch together and meet her other friends. After lunch, Maya and John chat on the way home, and she learns he won the competition. She asks about the charm she gave him, and he says it's in his pocket. She's happy he didn't lose it. Then she invites him to her house for dinner. The next day at school, Leon gives Maya a sticker because he likes her. She thanks him just as the teacher enters and distributes a test. At the same moment, John is taking a test too, and the student who just returned sits next to him. After a while, the test results come out and Jan places second while someone else gets first. Everyone talks about it, and Maya is surprised because it's the first time Jan has placed second. He tells her to focus on herself since she failed 2 subjects, physics and biology. When she asks how he knows, he says he got her results. She sees her grades and is thrilled she passed, feeling like a fool for being so happy about it. Her academic performance is weak compared to John's, which is why he sometimes helps her improve. The teacher gives them papers for a chemistry competition, and he tells John that his physics scores are higher, so he can skip this opportunity. John insists he wants to try. Afterward, he excuses himself and leaves. Maya goes to him, cheering him on, saying second place isn't bad, and next time he'll be first like always. She notices he seems sad, and when she asks if it's because of the competition, he says he's thinking about it. She suggests he focus on physics instead. He smiles, telling her not to worry about him anymore. She heads home and stays up late to do research for him on chemistry. Her mother walks in and asks what she's doing. When Maya explains, her mother laughs and tells her that Jian is a top student and she's younger, so he probably won't need her help. Maya insists she will help him and continue her research. Her mother grabs her by the neck and firmly tells her that if she doesn't study her own subjects, she will change the password on the computer. Meanwhile, in the street, we see Maya's father washing the car himself to save money. John's father comes by asking for money, taking advantage of the incident with his son. He keeps demanding money from him, and Maya's father hands him the cash he has, which John's father takes and leaves. At Jean's place, he heads to the rooftop and finds Maya has left him the research in a chicken coop. The next day, he goes to school feeling happy. He tells John that the essentials he has are trivial and he still won't be able to beat him. Then he hands John the important notes he wrote down, and John thanks him. He continues studying the research Maya did for him. After a few days, the competition day arrives and the weather is bad and rainy. Maya gives him the food her father prepared for him. He thanks her on behalf of his father and feels tired. When she checks his temperature, she finds he's warm, but he reassures her. When the bus arrives, he says goodbye and leaves for the competition. They start doing the experiments for the test, while Maya at home is anxious about him, pacing back and forth. After they finish, the assistant takes their papers to the teacher and shows her, discovering that Jean has won. He goes to him, saying he feels tired and didn't train as much, yet he didn't make any mistakes. Then he asks John why he specifically chose the chemistry competition. John replies that he didn't train any less than Leon. He chose it because the prize is bigger. As he walks away, Maya calls out to him and gives him some medicine. After that, they go sit by the sea and he shares the news of his victory. She is really happy for him. The next day on the bus, someone steps on Maya's foot and she feels frustrated because it's hard for her to get on the bus. She decides to borrow her mother's bike instead, but her father tells her that her mother won't allow it. She pleads with him and he finally agrees. He helps her practice riding, but she quickly takes over and rides on her own. That night she goes to him for more lessons, and Jian sees them and feels annoyed. The next day he asks Chui if he can borrow his bike, and Chui agrees. Maya practices riding again, but Leon tells her that she needs to put in a lot of effort. She insists she has to train well to ensure Jian stays safe. Meanwhile, Chui is training Jian. Maya's mother sees her with Leon and invites him over for dinner. He goes, but Jian is unhappy about Leon's presence. After dinner, Jian walks Leon home and learns that Maya is learning to ride for his sake, which makes him happy. The following day, John finds his father cutting papers and collecting money to pay off debts, while talking poorly about his mother. They argue, and later he goes out to buy food and sits by the sea. He talks to his mother, who reassures him but then has to hang up because his younger brother is sick. Feeling down, Maya comes over with a chicken they raise and tells him that his watch is nice. She reveals it belonged to his mother and that she left it for him before she left. Later, they go to her house for dinner and talk and laugh together. The next day, John continues his training with Maya, who surprises him by purchasing a bike online. She shows up asking him to come down as she rides her mother's bike. In the morning, she comes to him again to ride together, but he surprises her by giving her the new bike he bought for her, while he takes her mother's bike. They both ride together. At school, Maya sits drawing and glances at me, who is putting grades next to John's name for him to learn to ride. Mi mentions that John worked hard and should get 4 points. John overhears this and confirms Maya's words. Mi suggests that if she gives John 4 points, he will excel in everything, and could become a good match for her, which makes Maya reconsider and suggest only 2 points instead. Mi laughs at this. After school, Leon goes with Ron to return the comics they finished. He notices a man putting up a poster in the library for a challenging game competition, where the winner will receive a pair of shoes from a famous basketball player. Leon thinks about entering with Maya. The next day at school, Maya goes to Jian's class and finds he hasn't finished yet. She tells him she's going to the bike garage to ride, but sees Leon there, who has been watching her all day. They ride together and have a bike race. That night, Leon shows her the competition poster and invites her to join him to win the shoes, which would help him with basketball. She tells him to enter alone, but he explains that the game is played in pairs. Eventually, she agrees to help him. They go to the competition location, but find Ran there playing. Maya thinks Ran is Leon's partner and considers withdrawing, but Leon stops her and clarifies that Ran is not with him. Ran challenges Maya to a match, and she accepts, ultimately winning and feeling thrilled. Meanwhile, John and Chui are at the mall and Chui offers John ice cream, which he declines. When he sees Maya with Leon, he takes Chui's ice cream and eats it out of frustration. The next day at school, the teacher scolds Maya and Leon for not paying attention, making them stand in front of the class. John notices and goes to talk to Leon, telling him to stay away from Maya and focus on his studies, as he is distracting her with the competition. Leon replies that Maya is free to do what she wants, and John insists he will make her give up the competition. They exchange challenging looks before Jian walks away. After school, John tells Maya to stop training for the competition and focus on her studies. She refuses, saying she promised to help and can't abandon it now that the competition is approaching. John feels annoyed and leaves her. Later, he practices the game at the mall to take Maya's place and spare her from further training so she can study. The following day at school, he works on strategies to figure out how to win easily. The next day, he goes to the mall and tells them he has worked out the strategy to win. Leon mocks him, saying it's a game that doesn't need calculations, but John insists on trying. He indeed wins a match, making Maya proud and surprised at his gaming skills. As they walk home together, John feels upset that no matter what he does to get her attention, it all falls apart. They all train hard as the competition day approaches. After a few days, the competition arrives and they indeed win, celebrating with their new shoes. The next day, John goes to school wearing them and shows them off. During break, a girl sits at the same table as John, who is in his class and is known as one of the prettiest girls in school. When Gian asks her why she sat with him, she explains that her shoes broke, and she was embarrassed to get up in front of everyone. Maya sees this and gets upset, confronting John since that's her place. Gian suggests she can sit next to him, but she refuses and walks away with me. Maya talks to me, feeling annoyed, and me agrees that she has a point. If Maya wants to be sure of her feelings for John, she could help her. Maya denies having feelings for John, saying he's like a brother. After a moment, she asks me about the test. Me explains that if they keep staring at each other for 10 seconds without blinking, they might love each other like siblings. If one blinks or looks away, it means they have feelings for the other. That night, she's studying with Jane and lends him her notebook to listen to her. He shares what happened with him, and she tells him he should have taken his place. He shouldn't have given it to anyone else. While trying to take her notebook back, it accidentally falls on him and they end up staring at each other. As she counts the spots on his head while he talks, she gets distracted and looks away, feeling nervous. She quickly heads home, takes out his picture and tries the test again, but struggles to keep looking at it. The next day at school, she has me help her with makeup, but they don't succeed. Me then takes Leon's hair tie and uses it as a change. After school, she shows John her new look and asks if she looks pretty. He tells her she doesn't, which discourages her, and she walks away. In her room, she tries to fix her hair and looks for a suitable lipstick color. The next day at school, she overhears some girls talking about how they altered their uniforms, prompting her to visit the tailor. She decides to shorten and tighten her t-shirt. The following day, she shows up in her new look, catching Gian's attention. Later, while walking, she sees him helping me pick up things she dropped, but her t-shirt rides up, making Gian uncomfortable. He quickly helps her up and tells her that her outfit goes against the school rules. He goes to help me and leaves them to talk. Me feels nervous seeing him since he's one of the best boys after John. Maya informs Leon that she only changed the fit and asks if she looks good. He tells her she looks bad, and she gets upset, claiming he doesn't understand anything, then pushes him and walks away. That night, Jean buys her a new hair tie, but she doesn't seem to notice him as he walks past. The next day, he apologizes to her on the bus for overstepping his boundaries and says he won't interfere in her affairs anymore, which she doesn't appreciate. At the school gate, they see a teacher scolding students for violating dress codes. She doesn't have her jacket because her mother put it in the wash, so John offers her his jacket. She wears it and enters the school. When the teacher sees her and evaluates her outfit, she nervously puts her hands in the jacket's pockets and finds the hair tie. Later, she goes to John to give him the tie, asking if it's his. When he asks why she thinks that, she recalls him mentioning that he likes girls with big eyes. He looks at her closely and tells her that her eyes are also big. In class, she reflects on his words, feeling happy. Leanne arrives and asks why she's so cheerful. She hands him her hair tie, saying it doesn't suit her anymore, then giggles shyly, making Leon look at her curiously. That night, she goes with me to buy a gift for Jan's birthday and chooses a shirt. Unfortunately, on his birthday, she has a camp to attend. She plans to sneak away from the teacher with Me's help. They manage to do so, but Leon doesn't want to let her go and follows her. Me tries to distract him while Maya picks up the cake from the delivery person and rushes to school to celebrate with Gian. Suddenly, she notices Leon behind her and is shocked to hear the teacher trying to stop them. They run from him and find Gian along the way. She pulls him into a storage room, and the space is tight, forcing them to stand close to each other. She tries the staring test again, but before reaching 10 seconds, he looks away, making her happy. They're caught by the teacher, who insists they tell him the truth. He allows them to celebrate together. That night at John's house, he finds a message from his father congratulating him, but he doesn't respond. He waits for his mother to contact him, and he goes up to the roof to stargaze. Maya joins him and gives him the shirt, which he loves. When he goes downstairs, he gets a call from his mother, wishing him a happy birthday and apologizing for calling late, explaining she was busy with his little brother. She continues, asking him to come live with her and attend university there. He tells her that his father doesn't agree, and she insists he confront his father about it. A few days later, there's a talent competition at school, and the teacher wants to select a girl and a boy to present it from start to finish. Maya and her friends gather to discuss their plan, showcasing the moves they want to perform. They decide to create a dance routine. After a couple of days, the teacher chooses John and Maya to present the competition. Meanwhile, Maya's group has evaluations for their performances to determine who deserves to participate. They start practicing their act, but only John manages to perform well. The teacher suggests he participate solo, but he begs for a chance for the group. Eventually, the teacher agrees, and John shares the news with his friends, who are thrilled. Maya asks John to join her to discuss the introduction they will write. He follows her, but feels upset when she later goes off alone. The next day, she arrives at school without waiting for him. During practice, they work on their introduction, while Maya grows jealous, increasing the music volume to distract them. John sees Leon helping her learn her moves, which frustrates him. At the supermarket, Maya compliments Leon on his nice hair tie and admits she picked it out, making her feel annoyed. She returns to the classroom, hands it to him, and tells him not to come near her home again. After school, she sits by the sea alone, crying. The next day in the training room, no one is enthusiastic about practicing except Jian, who expresses frustration at them for wasting their opportunity. He wishes to create beautiful memories before going to university, but with their attitude, they'll stay in the same place. He packs his bag and leaves to buy a drink. Later, his friends approach him and assure him they'll train hard to win and create unforgettable memories. They go out to eat together, but suddenly, John feels unwell. When they arrive at school, the teacher tells Jian he might not be able to participate, but John insists he's the only one who can perform the basic move for their act and promises to make it work. The teacher agrees. Meanwhile, Jian asks Maya about the conclusion of their presentation, but doesn't mention her group. When he questions why she didn't name them, she explains that one of them got sick and she heard their act was canceled. He tells her they should confirm before removing anyone from the list. In the training room, they make everyone try the split because John can't do it due to his fatigue. The only one who succeeds is Maya, but she still needs practice. She goes to the roof of her house to train. John comes by and gives her a hair tie, telling her not to believe anyone's words and to never take it out of her hair. She smiles, and they reconcile. The next day she performs impressively. When she gets home, John encourages her to nail the move. The day of the competition arrives, and the teacher informs John that they have to cancel a performance due to time constraints. Maya suggests canceling the first grade performance since one of their students is sick. Jian argues that they've adjusted their moves and worked hard, but the teacher refuses. Later, the teacher from Maya's class informs them, and they're very upset because they were excited about the performance and had put in so much effort. Jian tries to persuade everyone to wait because some students have worked hard for their performance and deserve a chance. He prepares Maya's team and they go on stage delivering a stunning performance that impresses everyone, leading to a standing ovation. Afterward, Maya apologizes to Miao for her previous actions and clarifies that there's nothing between her and Jan. She was the one with unrequited feelings. Then Maya thanks Jian for supporting them and tells him that FAI likes him. He responds that he hadn't noticed her since she didn't interest him. Maya suggests they make a pact not to date anyone until they finish school. They go home and write the agreement, each taking a copy. At school, Leon approaches Miao to inform her about a library competition for the best duo dressed as comic book characters, with the winner getting the author's signature on a Naruto novel. Excited, Miao agrees to participate with him. Later that night, Leon shows her the costume he's prepared for her, a mermaid outfit. The next day, the teacher and the principal call Leon and Miao, announcing that their debate submissions have been accepted and they will advance to the debate competition. Leon is surprised since he didn't apply for anything, and even Mi is puzzled about Leon being with her, knowing he isn't into such things and might let them down. He tells the principal he must participate since he submitted the application. We learn that the debate day coincides with the library competition, leaving Meow uncertain about what to do. She talks to Jian about what she heard and finds out he submitted Leon's debate entry to keep him away from her. When she sees him, she asks him to help choose her outfit for the competition. The next day, Leon goes to the debate dressed in his costume for the competition, eager to finish quickly and head to Meow. Meow feels anxious knowing she won't win on her own. John visits her and she wants him to join her. She asks the librarian what they should do, and he hands her the keys to the storage room, suggesting they find something to design for him. They head to the storage room, where Maya creates a costume for Jian using the materials available. During the debate, Leon struggles with himself, feeling pressured by his father. Meanwhile, Maya designs a look for John that makes him appear like a robot, painting it on his face. At the same time in the debate, Leon speaks out spontaneously, feeling overwhelmed and wanting to leave, yet everyone applauds him for his genuine remarks. Meanwhile, John and Meow present their costumes beautifully, winning the competition and receiving the signed book. Afterward, Leon approaches them, feeling frustrated when he learns Jean participated instead of him. He insults the design, questioning how they won. Meow glares at him and tells him she designed it. Leon quickly changes his tune, admitting it's actually great. She takes Jian's hand and leaves him behind. Later, we see a girl watching Jian with her friend, having heard about the competition he won. She decides to try to catch his attention again. That night, she goes to the abandoned building at school, pretending to look for ghosts, as everyone talks about it. Suddenly, John appears in the mirror and vanishes, revealing it was a trick. The next day, everyone at school discusses the incident since she posted the video. Maya tells her friend that John was studying in his room all night. Rand shares a legend about the building, mentioning a girl who was trapped there and needed her boyfriend to reflect moonlight with a mirror to rescue her. They sit together, plotting a plan for everyone to go to the building, with Jean disguised as a scary girl. When Maya gets scared, he'll protect her, making her see him as the hero who saved the trapped student in the legend. They agree to explore the building the next day to uncover any supernatural occurrences. John overhears their conversation, wanting to go to the building himself to uncover the truth as well. He wishes them luck and leaves. That night, we see John disguised as a girl with long, scary hair. Leon leaves the girls to go inside the building, informing them that Riyam is sick and can't come. They enter the building together, and the girls are scared. Meow accidentally drops her phone, and Leon suggests they grab it on their way back. She agrees, and as they proceed, they hear a scary noise. When they investigate the room where the sound is coming from, they find Choi, who turns out to be playing a recording to create the spooky sounds. Meanwhile, John is visited by Meow's father, who asks if his daughter has finished studying with him. John realizes that Meow lied and that she is still studying. Her father hands John a key to their home, telling him to take her back when she's done. Jean tries calling her, but she doesn't answer. At school, the four friends discover a girl's shoe in the classroom, and on the desk, there's a red substance that looks like blood, along with a creepy doll. Suddenly, Choi appears behind them, causing them to scream as he accidentally grabs the doll and runs off, leaving Meow alone. Leon finds out that the person with him is Me, and they start arguing. Meanwhile, FAI comes back from school, sees Choi, and screams, running away from him. Hearing the noise, Leon rushes over, thinking it's a ghost, but gets a call from John, who senses that Meow is in the abandoned building. John learns that she is indeed there, but they've lost track of each other, so he asks Leon to find her and keep her safe until he arrives. Alone and scared, Meow hears a girl crying and discovers it's John. She tells him she's afraid and asks him not to leave her. She then apologizes for lying and the rumors she spread, admitting she did it to get his attention because she likes him. Realizing her methods were wrong, she pleads with him to help her out of the building. Despite feeling compassion for her, Jean tells her he'll help, but needs to call for assistance. Leon and Me decide to run to escape the haunted place. Soon after, Jean finally finds Meow and scolds her for putting herself in danger. Leon and Me finally exit the building, and Meow thanks him for staying by her side. The next day at school, Meow recounts her experience to her friend while deleting photos of John from her phone, claiming she's ready to forget him since his heart belongs to someone else. Meow. As the holiday approaches, Meow's grandparents come to celebrate with them, and her grandfather suggests she call John over. She goes to his house and knocks, but no one answers. When she tries calling, she finds her phone is out of credit. Jian, meanwhile, is waiting outside the police station for his father, who is usually in trouble. Jian offers him a jacket for warmth and then leaves, but his father follows him, demanding money. Jian tells him that his mother was right about him being irresponsible. His father yells at him, suggesting he go to Miao's father, whom he deems responsible, not knowing he is the cause of all Jian's problems, including the loss of his leg. Jian doesn't believe him and heads home, where he finds Miao waiting for him, and they go to her house together. Miao's mother calls, revealing she's been looking for a job for a while but hasn't had any luck, stressing over their financial situation. They all sit down to eat and celebrate together. Later, Jian and Miao go outside to light fireworks. Lian video calls Miao, visibly upset about Jian being with her. That night, Jian tries to call her, but she doesn't answer, leading him to reminisce about their memories before his mother divorced his father due to his bad behavior. He recalls chasing after her as she left, crying, when suddenly a car hits him, waking him from his dreams. He holds his mother's watch that she gave him before leaving. While he's on the phone with her, his father comes in and takes his phone away. Miao's grandparents see this, and Jian's grandfather pulls him aside to give him a gift, telling him not to mention it to his father, and that he did the same for Miao. Jian thanks him. A little later, Miao's grandparents and family leave, leaving her alone at home. They tell her to take care until they return. After they leave, Miao goes to get food and treats for the night. At the library, Leon is sitting alone, looking sad, when the librarian comes over to ask what's wrong. Leon explains that he wants to get closer to a girl he likes. The librarian advises him to give her flowers and offers some other tips. At Miao's house, she continues eating but soon feels regret and realizes she has food poisoning. She calls Jean, who rushes to her side as soon as he sees her condition. Unfortunately, due to the heavy rain, the ambulance will take a while, so he carries her on his back, holding an umbrella, but he slips and falls with her. At the same time, Leon is at her house to give her flowers. He witnesses what happened and quickly helps Miao up from the ground and takes her to the hospital. There, John calls her parents to inform them, and they say they are on their way. When they arrive, they see Jian standing alone in the rain, so Miao's father goes down to him, allowing Miao's mother to check on their daughter. Leon recalls the details of the accident and realizes that Miao's father is truly responsible for it. He asks why he treated Jian that way. Miao's father apologizes, saying that for all these years he has been trying to make amends, but Jian responds that he can't compensate for the feelings he has experienced, especially when he couldn't help someone close to him. Jian walks away, leaving him behind. The next day, Miao finds Jian and feels upset when she learns that Lian is the one who brought her to the hospital. Lian receives a message from her asking if he saw Jian yesterday, to which he replies he didn't. He recalls how anxious he was when he arrived at the hospital, worried about her. A few days later, Miao leaves the hospital and goes to the rooftop, where she sees Jian. She asks him why he didn't reply to her. He tells her he was busy. Miao mentions seeing him carrying her to the hospital, but Jian denies it, saying she must have been dreaming. His demeanor is colder than usual, which hurts Miao, so she walks away. The next day, she goes to his house to walk to school together, but his father informs her that he left early. On the street, Jian struggles to run with his prosthetic leg, pushing himself despite his exhaustion. Later, Miao asks him why he left without her in the morning. He tells her he wanted to get to school early. She offers to walk with him. She then asks for his opinion on whether to choose a science or arts track. He tells her it's her decision to make based on what feels right for her. Miao then questions why he has changed toward her since he used to help her so much. He looks at her sadly, stating that he is just a person like her and has the right to choose for himself as well. In the house, Miao's parents argue about which track she should take, as her mother wants her in science and her father prefers arts since she excels in those subjects. The next day at school, Miao talks to her friends about her dilemma, and they tell her not to worry and that she has time to decide. During a basketball practice to select players for the team, they all participate since they have been training for a while. After practice, John speaks with Miao, suggesting she choose the arts track like him, especially since her grades are better in it. She agrees, feeling that science subjects are difficult for her. The following day, John practices what he wants to say to her to help her choose her path. But when he hears her, he sits with Choi. Miao declares that she has decided to choose the arts track. Choi notices John's reaction, commenting that it seems she has made up her mind. The basketball team's selection results come out, and Jian is disappointed as he wasn't chosen, marking the second time he has tried out and failed. His friends try to console him, but he is still upset and walks away to the library. Miao finds him, encouraging him not to lose hope and to try again next year. Meanwhile, Jian and Miao begin to avoid each other. Later, Jian searches online for a good prosthetic that will allow him to run easily. At school, Leon is sad and quiet. His friend sits next to him, trying to cheer him up, reminding him that he can still join the team if he overcomes his challenges. They both join in a game, winning the round. Leon tells Jian that he deserves to be on the team, and they continue playing together. Miao watches them, happy that they are talking again and haven't lost each other. After that, Jan goes to his classroom to move his things, seemingly knowing that their class has changed. He finds out from the teacher that Miao has already moved her things for him. The new gym teacher enters and asks about the student who hasn't been attending. A student mentions John. The teacher inquires if John is sick, and he responds no. The teacher insists that he must attend class and train with everyone from now on. Miao watches as John enters the gym, feeling upset about how the teacher treats him. She approaches the principal to complain, and the principal calls the teacher to his office, explaining John's health condition. The teacher states that he understands everything and wants John to not diminish his self-worth and to interact with his classmates without worrying about him. The principal agrees. At night, John practices running with some help from others. Miao's father happens to see them and realizes that John needs a new prosthetic leg. The next day, John skips gym class, prompting the teacher to send a student to call him. John refuses to come down, leading the teacher to inform the class that they will stand until he does. His classmates call for him, and Miao, who has a class at the same time, sees what's happening and becomes very upset. She rushes to the teacher and tells him to leave Jian alone. Hearing her voice, Jian comes down and has Miao apologize to the teacher. Later, the teacher in charge of Miao's class arrives and takes her away, while Jian actually joins in their training. However, he struggles to keep up, and some students complain about his speed. The teacher suggests he take a break, but the students refuse, worried he'll slow the group down. Miao defends Jian and asks the teacher to let him stay. That night, Miao's father visits Jan's dad, giving him money to buy John a new prosthetic. He mentions that since he hasn't spoken to John lately, the boy might refuse the money. Jan's father agrees, but asks why he's giving him money. Miao's dad explains and insists that he promises to give it to Jian. The next day, Jian finds money transferred to his account and asks his father about it. His father tells him it's for a new prosthetic leg. Jian questions where the money came from, and his father, annoyed, tells him not to worry about it, just to get the device. At school, Jian talks to the students who have been complaining about him. He reprimands them for their treatment of their classmate and emphasizes that they should understand his situation. If they support him, he'll improve and be able to keep up. The students feel guilty and go to train with John, finding they can work together. After school, John spots Miao running and chases after her to stop her. She asks how he learned to run like that. He replies that his father bought him a new prosthetic. John then asks why she's running away from him. Miao explains that she's been fighting with her dad about the accident and didn't want to pressure him into talking. John asks her to forgive him for how he's acted toward her. Suddenly, a bicycle comes towards them, and to protect her, John pushes her away, but accidentally twists her ankle. He carries her on his back. The next day, the teacher announces that they'll be doing sports presentations and need to think of ideas. Jian's teacher tells him to consider what performance they can create. The following day, they present their ideas, and the teacher announces that they need a leader. All the students choose John, even though the role will be difficult for him. The next day, Miao learns that John fainted. She rushes to the clinic to give him medicine and learns he doesn't know how to perform the basic move. She encourages him not to give up. After school, she helps him practice, telling him to trust his team. On the day of the presentation, they perform in front of all the students and Miao takes photos. When it's time for the basic move, everyone cheers him on, and he successfully performs it with his team, earning applause from everyone. Next, Meow's class presents their relay race, where each runner hands the baton to the next. Meow passes the baton to Leon, who runs quickly and wins the race. Later that night, John meets Meow's father, who takes him out to eat. Gian asks if he was the one who paid for the prosthetic, to which Meow's father replies that it was his dad. Gian apologizes for how he treated him recently, and Meow's father reassures him that he's not upset. They share a meal and laugh together. A few days later, Meow is with her friends, celebrating their upcoming transition to the science track after the exams, while she and her friends are in the arts track. The next day, Meow learns that she failed 2 subjects in the monthly exam, which worries her since she needs to pass to choose the arts track. Meanwhile, Leon talks to his father, who has prepared information on all the arts colleges to help him decide. Leon expresses that his dream is to become a basketball player, not just to get into college. His father insists he needs to enroll in college, stating that the decision isn't solely his. Leon promises to study and pass to enter the arts track, and his father agrees. At Meow's home, her teacher calls, asking to speak with one of them. Meow's mother sees her daughter's grades and leaves to meet the teacher, who follows her. Upon arriving at her daughter's classroom, Meow runs away upon seeing her. When she spots John, she hides behind him, saying her grades are a problem at home. Gian reassures her that he'll help her study. She agrees, but asks him to come to her house after school. At the mall, Meow's mother receives a call that she didn't get the job she applied for. When she gets home, she asks her husband about the money on the credit card, and they argue when she finds out he used it to buy Gian's prosthetic. She accuses him of being concerned for someone else's child while neglecting their daughter. Meow walks in, trying to console her mother, assuring her that she'll study hard. Her mother tells her to go to her room and continues arguing with her husband. The next day, Meow prepares to study with John, who gives her a set of practice exams to complete first. He tells her that if she finishes, he'll study with her. Later that night, Meow and her mother discuss the financial issues again. Meow's mother reveals she saw the credit card statement and noticed that he spent everything on Gian. She reminds him that he stood by Gian after the accident, but now it's hard for her. He yells back that both of them are working to earn money and that everything will be resolved. She starts to cry, saying she lost her job a long time ago and hasn't found a new one. Just then, she receives a call that her father is ill. When Meow goes home, she learns that her mother has left to take care of her ill grandfather. She finds her father sitting gloomy and sad, so she puts a piece of chocolate in his mouth to cheer him up. He thanks her. The next day, Leon gives John the tests he completed, agreeing to study with Meow. They both take it seriously, with John helping Meow study at home. After the exams, their teacher announces to the class that both Leon and Meow have improved their grades and passed all their subjects. The whole class applauds them, and they are both happy. Meow rushes to Gian's class, signaling him through the window about her grades. Leon shows his father his scores, who is very pleased and lets Leon sign his report card, giving him the freedom to pursue what he wants next. Meow calls her mother to share her grades, and her mother is delighted. However, when Meow asks when she will return home, she is shocked to learn her mother is considering living with her father. She realizes they are likely separating. The next day she goes to the rooftop feeling upset, and Jean comes to her, encouraging her to share what's bothering her. He tells her a story about how his parents met. His mother owned a flower shop, and his father fell in love with her at first sight. One day, when some boys bothered her, his father intervened, accidentally injuring one of them, which led to him going to jail. After his release, they married, had a happy life until his father returned to his old reckless ways, drinking and gambling, which eventually led to his mother leaving him. As Gian holds her hand, he reassures her that he's there for her and won't leave her. The next day at school, Meow appears sad, and her friends notice. They try to lift her spirits since they're not used to seeing her like this. Meanwhile, her teacher complains to Gian about her declining performance. Gian asks her father if he had an argument with her mother because of him, but her father insists it's unrelated and that she'll be back soon. John tries to create a website called Dreams to help Meow out of her funk. They go to a fountain that isn't working, and they sit there, hanging wishes on a tree, hoping for better days. Meow later finds the location from the dream site and expresses a desire to visit it, prompting Jian to join her despite the bad weather. At another spot, they see Meow's father and Jian's father drinking together. Meow's father is upset, telling Jian's father to stay away and not ask for money again as his family is suffering. Jian's father coldly replies that he has no money and that he must take responsibility for his actions. This escalates into a fight between the two. Meow arrives at the wishing spot and is amazed by it. Just before she makes her wish, she accidentally drops her coin, and she and Jian search for it until he finds it. She wishes for her parents to reconcile and tosses the coin into the fountain. Later, she calls her mother, who informs her that they're taking her grandfather to the hospital. Meow is overjoyed. Her father returns home quickly to tend to his wounds before Meow sees him, shedding tears over his wife. When Meow finds him, she quickly helps him bandage his injuries. He explains that her mother is upset with him, not because of her grades, but because he's always prioritizing John over his own family. He apologizes to Meow, who reassures him that she's not mad at him and believes her mother will come back. Meanwhile, John's father returns home, and Jian learns about the problems stemming from his father's actions. He sees a note detailing the money his father received from Meow's father, realizing the family issues were caused by him. They argue, and Jian's father hits him, leading Jian to retreat to his room and call his mother, expressing his intention to move to her. She tells him to finalize his paperwork and that she will help him. The next day, Meow is thrilled to see her mother and grandmother back, running to hug them. She asks her mother if she will stay with them permanently, but her mother says she'll decide after checking on her grandfather. The following day at school, Jian refuses to apply for the scholarship he was offered. His teacher informs him that he will be studying abroad. Meow, in class, starts making bracelets for her family to protect them from harm. After school, she visits her grandfather with John, and later that night, she goes to give Jian his bracelet. She overhears him arguing with his father about traveling. The next day, she notices him avoiding her, so she decides to approach him first. He's listening to music through headphones, so she takes one out and hears him planning how to complete his travel paperwork easily. She feels upset that he's eager to leave her. Later, she shares her feelings with her friends. The next day, John speaks with his mother, who tells him she won't be living with him and will get him an apartment instead. John is disheartened that she doesn't want him in her life. He recalls a time when she visited him as a child before leaving for a trip, where she gave him money to keep for her, disregarding his pleas for her to stay. He overhears her crying and asks why she's upset. She hugs him, saying it's because of him. Back home, he records memories they've shared to send to her once he leaves. The next day, John meets Meow's mother, who is searching for her daughter, who has gone missing. They team up to look for her, and Meow's mother encounters a young man who is bothering her. John's father intervenes, and Meow's mother thanks him. John's father tells Jian that he threw away his passport and leaves. Meow's mother asks if he's going to travel, but John avoids answering her. Once home, Meow finds her husband on the couch, wanting to make amends, but she discourages him, saying they need the money instead. Meow defends her father and yells at her mother, prompting Jian to try to calm her, but she pushes his hand away, saying he has nothing to do with it since he also decided to leave her. Later, John reassures Meow's father that, regardless of what happens, he will always be his son and never abandon him. That night, Meow cries, and her father comes to comfort her. She worries that her mother is upset with her because of her behavior. He promises to take her to the hospital the next day to make things right with her mother. When he mentions Jian, she cries more and tells him not to bring him up. The following day, she goes to the hospital and reconciles with her mother. Meanwhile, Jian is packing his things and watches videos of himself and Meow from their childhood, feeling devastated about leaving her. He walks along the beach, filming a sunset video to send her. Meow's friends gather to find a way to help her feel better, and Leon decides he wants John to stay. At school, he asks John to meet him on the roof and pleads with him not to leave for Meow's sake. John insists he must go to help solve her problems. Leon counters that she will never be okay with him far away, and then he leaves, making paper airplanes with the names of countries written on them, enlisting Ron's help. The next day at school, they throw the paper airplanes at Meow, and she catches one that says Morocco. Leon wants to confess his feelings for her in front of everyone, but the microphone cuts out. She tells him she'll come to see him. When she approaches him, John sees this and feels uneasy, realizing Leon is about to confess. Leon tells Meow he loves her, but she brushes him off, saying she only considers him a friend. He laughs it off, pretending he was joking, which makes her feel relieved. Back home, John finds his father unpacking his belongings to prevent him from traveling. In the library, Meow shares Leon's confession with a friend who insists that Leon is serious about his feelings. This upsets Meow and she doesn't know how to react. Her friend advises her to act normally as if nothing happened. The next day, Meow meets with Leon to propose they date since he scored the highest grade, and they have a lot in common. He tells her that the chart she created won't determine the person she'll end up with, and that she might not even like him once she gets to know him. He leaves her with that thought. Later, she finds Leon at the playground looking sad, so she decides to take him to the amusement park. They ride all the thrilling rides, with Leon screaming in fear. Afterward, he asks her to give him grades for being brave. Meow tells him she's scrapping her idea of grades and will wait for the person she truly loves without any conditions. He assures her that when that day comes, she'll be happy. She smiles, agreeing that she enjoyed the day. The following day, Meow sees Jian and tells him she wants him to be happy and not to be upset with her for how she treated him recently. She hands him the bracelet she made. As she walks away crying, she finds some sweets and sits by the beach. She discovers his laptop left behind, opens it, and finds videos he recorded for her. She watches them late at night, crying as she remembers their moments together. Jian approaches her and tells her he decided not to travel and wants to stay by her side. She stands up and hugs him tightly, crying. The next day, he visits Meow's father, thanking him for his support over the years and declaring that from now on, he will take responsibility for himself, including paying back every penny he's spent. Meow's father tears up the list of expenses and asks him to help clean the car. Later, Jian receives a call informing him that his father-in-law has passed away. He tells Meow to prepare for the funeral. Meow reflects on her memories, with her grandfather sadly, while her father comforts her, promising to always be there for her. Meow insists that they will always be a family. Meanwhile, John opens his door to find his mother, who says she's come to take him with her. He tells her he doesn't want to travel. She insists that his decision is wrong, and warns him that if he stays with his father, he will become just like him. John responds that the last time his mother saw him was during a visit after a long time, and that he always wished to see her but doesn't want to run away like she did. She sadly tells him that her life was not easy, but she has no regrets. If she could, she would make it up to him for everything he missed. John goes to get Meow's watch and hands it to her, signaling that he doesn't want to be with her anymore. In return, she gives him a notebook filled with all the money she had saved for him over the years, leaving it on the table as she walks away. On her way, she encounters her ex-husband, who is drunk and tries to grab her arm. She pushes him away, causing him to fall. John rushes over to help him up, advising her to leave and return to her life. Later that evening, John visits Meow's father, who is alone. They reconcile after their previous fight, and we see Meow's friends at a basketball court. Leon is close to Meow, teaching her how to shoot, but she feels nervous and distracted. John's father and Meow's father observe them, and Meow's father introduces Jian's father as their classmate. They all decide to play together, but Leon injures his leg and leaves with friends for support. At Jian's home, Meow's mother comes to check on him and invites him to dinner. When he arrives, he finds his father there, who tries to reconnect with him and take responsibility. The school year concludes with John ranking first in his class, and he visits his father at school dressed nicely. He shares his plans to study astrophysics, but his father urges him to choose a more practical major for job security. Sometime later, Jian and his father prepare to travel for university applications. Jian gives Meow all his study books, impressing her with the sheer number. She jokes about selling them for money and slips a picture of herself into his phone case as a goodbye. A year passes, and Meow studies with Jian over video calls, with him helping her through her final year of high school. One day he sends her a package containing historical books to aid her studies. At night, she dreams of a nightmare about her exams, waking up to study. Suddenly she hears Jian's father drinking. She encourages him to stop so John won't worry about him, as it's clear he misses his son. The next day, Jian calls Meow to check on her stress from studying, mentioning he's already in town to support her during exams without telling her. At school, Meow dozes off at her desk and wakes up to find John beside her. She thinks she's dreaming, but when she realizes he's real, They go to her house and eat together. He helps her study using his old high school materials, expressing how much he missed her during his time at university. Meow promises to do her best. The next day, Meow is late for her exam because her father is unwell and can't take her. John's father offers to drive them, but he realizes he forgot to turn off the stove. John rushes to turn it off and gets out of the car. Meow discovers she doesn't have her exam number. She mistakenly took John's ID card. Her mother panics upon learning this and tells Jian's father, who quickly takes Meow back to retrieve her exam number. Meow calls John, crying, explaining what happened. When Jian arrives at her house, he finds her father missing, so he takes the spare key to get her exam number. Meow waits anxiously in front of the school, terrified. John reaches her just in time and she hugs him, relieved. After her exams, it's time to receive the results. Everyone gathers and Meow prays for success. Shortly after, John shows up to tell her she passed and will attend his university. She joyfully jumps into his arms. The next day, she celebrates with friends, taking photos and thanking their teacher for his guidance. At the end of the day, they gather at the beach, discussing their futures. The following day, Meow and Jian head out to help him. Meow accidentally trips, breaking her sandal. Jian's father asks him to carry her home, leading to a moment of embarrassment for both. However, he insists, knowing they have feelings for each other. He walks her home and later speaks to her mother about his love for Meow, expressing his desire to marry her. Meow's mother, happy, assures him that all they want is for their daughter to be safe and happy. That night, Meow's mother hugs her, realizing her daughter has grown up. They discuss John, and Meow admits her feelings for him, reassuring her mother she'll be with him. A few days later, they go on a summer trip with friends, enjoying themselves. Finally, Jian confesses his love for Meow, and she reciprocates. They decide to be together forever. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed our recap, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out more recaps on our channel. Take care.